The academic who started in trade unions now controls his country's entire energy future. When you look at Dr. Roodal Moonilal today, you see a powerful politician serving as Trinidad and Tobago's Minister of Energy and Energy Industries. But his journey began in a completely different world, one of labor rights, union halls, and fighting for workers who had no voice. Born on December 2, 1966, in Trinidad and Tobago, Roodal grew up in a time when the country was finding its identity, discovering its oil and gas wealth, and trying to figure out how to turn natural resources into prosperity for ordinary people. Nobody could have predicted that this young man would one day be responsible for managing those very resources, making decisions that affect billions of dollars and the future of an entire nation. Roodal's story is not one of shortcuts or family connections. It's a story of relentless education, of collecting degrees like other people collect stamps, of spending years in classrooms and libraries when he could have taken easier paths. He started at the University of the West Indies in St. Augustine, where he earned a Bachelor of Science degree with honors in government. But that was just the beginning. While many people would have stopped there, gotten a job, started making money, Roodal kept studying. He went to the University of London and earned an LLB degree in law. Think about that commitment. He was studying government and law simultaneously, understanding how systems work and how to use legal frameworks to create change. But he still wasn't done. He then pursued a Master of Arts degree in Labor and Development, and he didn't just pass. He graduated magna cum laude in 1991 to 1992, which means he was at the top of his class, outperforming students from around the world. And then, as if 3 degrees weren't enough, he went for a PhD in Development Studies from the Institute of Social Studies in The Hague, Netherlands. His dissertation was the first ever in his program to earn a certain distinction, showing that his research was groundbreaking, original, and important. Now here's what makes Roodal different from so many other politicians who study and then immediately jump into politics. He actually worked. He got his hands dirty. He spent years in the trenches of labor relations, fighting for workers, negotiating contracts, and understanding what real people needed to survive and thrive. From 1989 to 1991, and again from 1993 to 1995, he worked as head of the Department of Education, Research and Training at the All Trinidad Sugar and General Workers Trade Union. This wasn't some comfortable office job. This was about educating workers, helping them understand their rights, and giving them the tools to fight for better conditions. In 1999, he was rehired by the union in an advisory capacity because they needed his expertise. During that same period, he served as an industrial relations consultant and advisor to the Northwest Regional Health Authority in Port of Spain from 1999 to 2000. He was helping healthcare workers, the people who save lives every day, get fair treatment and decent wages. But Roodal also never stopped teaching. From 1988 to 1991, then 1993 to 1994, and again in 1996, he was a part-time tutor in politics at the University of the West Indies. He was passing on his knowledge, helping young people understand how government works, how power operates, and how they could make a difference. From 1995 and then 1997 to 1998, he was a teaching and research assistant at the Institute of Social Studies in The Hague. He returned to lecture at UE part-time from 1999 to 2000. And he even lectured at the Institute of Social Studies in Holland in May and June of 2000. This man was teaching on 2 continents, sharing his expertise in industrial relations and human resource management not just in Trinidad and Tobago, but across the wider Caribbean. He worked as an industrial relations consultant throughout the region, helping companies and workers find common ground, negotiate fairly, and build better workplaces. In 1999, something significant happened that would change the direction of Roodal's career. He became the director of the Policy Monitoring Unit in the Office of the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. This was a huge responsibility. He was now inside the government, monitoring policies, making sure they actually worked, and reporting directly to the most powerful person in the country. This experience gave him an inside look at how government really operates, where the bottlenecks are, where corruption can hide, and where good intentions go to die without proper monitoring and follow through. Now, while all of this was happening in his professional life, Roodal had a personal life that anchored him and kept him grounded. He married Natasha Moonilal, whose maiden name was Chadizing. Natasha wasn't just a supportive wife standing in the background. She was his partner in every sense of the word, supporting him through years of study, late nights, career changes, and eventually the brutal world of politics. The couple waited many years before having their first child, and when their son was born on Saturday morning at 8 a.m., weighing 6 pounds and 8 ounces, at St. Augustine Private Hospital, it was a moment of pure joy. They named him Niskal Vinayak Moonilal. Niskal is a name they had loved for many years, and Vinayak is one of the names of the Hindu god Lord Ganesh, meaning Lord of all. When Roodal spoke to reporters as they left the hospital, he said it was a great job being a father and a very humbling experience. Natasha, standing beside him holding their newborn, said she was elated and that it was a special moment for them because they had waited so long. By 2001, Roodal was ready to enter politics officially. He was first appointed as a government senator, getting a taste of parliamentary life, learning the rules, understanding how debates work, and building relationships with other politicians. But he didn't stay in the Senate for long. He wanted to be elected directly by the people, to have a constituency, to represent real voters who chose him. From 2002 to 2007, he served as the Member of Parliament for Orapush. Then in 2010, he was elected as the Member of Parliament for Orapush East, and he has held that seat ever since. That's over 20 years representing the same general area, building trust, delivering results, and staying connected to the people who put him in office. On May 24, 2010, something remarkable happened. After winning his seat, Roodal was appointed Minister of Housing, Planning, and the Environment in the People's Partnership Government. This was a massive portfolio, responsible for where people live, how cities are planned, and how the environment is protected. The ministry's name and responsibilities changed several times during his tenure, eventually becoming the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development. From 2010 to 2015, Roodal served not just as a minister, but as the leader of government business in the House of Representatives. This meant he was responsible for managing the government's legislative agenda, making sure bills were passed, debates were organized, and the government's program was implemented. He had to negotiate with opposition members, keep his own party united, and manage the complex machinery of parliamentary democracy. Before this major appointment, he had also served as minister in the Ministry of Labor, Manpower Development, and Industrial Relations, bringing his union background and labor expertise to government policy. He also served as Minister of Communications and Information Technology, showing his versatility and ability to handle completely different portfolios. From 2007 to 2010, Roodal served as chairman of the Public Accounts Committee, one of the most important oversight bodies in any parliament. This committee examines government spending, looks for waste and corruption, and holds ministers accountable for how they use taxpayers' money. He also served on over a dozen other parliamentary committees, gaining expertise across virtually every area of government policy. Throughout his political career, Roodal became known as a strong motivational speaker and skilled debater. In the rough and tumble world of Caribbean politics, where debates can get heated and personal, Roodal learned to hold his own, to make his arguments clearly, and to defend his positions forcefully. Roodal is a founding member of the United National Congress, the political party that has shaped much of Trinidad and Tobago's modern political landscape. In fact, he served as the first youth affairs officer of the party, helping to build its youth wing, recruit young members, and ensure that the next generation had a voice in party decisions. This wasn't just a ceremonial position. It showed that from the very beginning, Roodal understood that political parties need fresh blood, new ideas, and young energy to stay relevant and effective. After losing power in 2015, Roodal spent years in opposition, watching the government from the other side of the aisle, criticizing its policies, and preparing for another chance to govern. He became known for asking tough questions in Parliament, demanding accountability, and not letting ministers get away with vague answers or misleading statements. In January 2025, he questioned the then Energy Minister Stuart Young about secret meetings in Venezuela, pointing out that Young had spent over $1.2 million on 13 trips to Venezuela, but provided almost no details about who he met with or what was discussed. Roodal noted that Young often traveled with just an interpreter and no officials, and that on several trips he brought a Defense Force commander to discuss energy matters, which seemed very unusual. He demanded to know if Young was meeting with people who were under arrest or sanctioned by the United States government. This kind of aggressive questioning made Roodal a formidable opposition politician. In March 2025, at the launch of the UNC's general election campaign at Naparima College, Roodal made serious accusations against the government, claiming that the Prime Minister and Attorney General knew about a senior government official with alleged business links to a person with criminal ties in the UK. He claimed this was why the UK had recently imposed visa restrictions on Trinidad and Tobago nationals. These weren't small accusations. This was political warfare at the highest level. Then came the general election of April 2025, and everything changed. The United National Congress, led by Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar, won the election, and in May 2025, Roodal was appointed Minister of Energy and Energy Industries. This wasn't just any ministry. In Trinidad and Tobago, energy is everything. The country's economy runs on oil and gas. Its prosperity depends on energy revenues. Its future is tied to how well it can manage declining production from mature oil fields and attract new investment. Roodal was now in charge of the single most important economic sector in his country. On July 1, 2025, just weeks into his new role, Roodal delivered his first major address to the oil and gas sector at the Society of Petroleum Engineers Mature Basin Energy Symposium. He acknowledged that Trinidad and Tobago's hydrocarbon basins are mature, having been in production since the early 20th century. He announced that the government would launch a national symposium aimed at streamlining the country's energy project approval process. He pointed out that a study by the Energy Chamber found that the approval process for new upstream projects required 33 major approvals from 8 ministries or agencies, and that government approvals are required for almost every activity at every stage. This bureaucratic nightmare was killing investment and delaying projects for years. Roodal committed to reducing these delays and making Trinidad and Tobago the energy hub of the Caribbean. He revealed that natural gas output in 2024 averaged about 2.5 billion cubic feet per day, which represents a long-term decline that threatens the country's economic future. He discussed the shallow water bid rounds, the deep water blocks being explored, and the onshore production that had declined from over 22,000 barrels per day in 2015 to about 17,000 barrels per day in 2025. He called out Heritage Petroleum, which has the largest onshore acreage, for allowing production to drop from over 21,000 barrels per day under the old state company Petrotrin to less than 10,000 barrels per day. He said Heritage needs to make better use of its acreage and suggested a reassessment of how they partner with lease operators and farm-out companies. This wasn't just talk. This was a minister willing to name names and demand results. In November 2025, Roodal received recognition for his community work when Pundit Artma Maharaj from For the Love of the Children organization, working with the Palmais Park Ramleela team, presented him with an award recognizing his 25 years of unwavering support for cultural and community development through the Palmais Park Ramleela. This shows that even while climbing the political ladder, serving in high office, and managing billion-dollar industries, Roodal never forgot his roots and continued supporting cultural and community initiatives in his constituency. Currently, at 58 years old, Dr. Roodal Moonilal is at the peak of his power and influence. He serves as deputy leader of the UNC, making him the second most powerful person in the ruling party. He's an experienced member of parliament with over 20 years in the legislature. He's a former minister who knows how government works from the inside. He's an academic with multiple degrees, including a PhD, DDDDHE. He's a lawyer who understands legal frameworks. He's a labor relations expert who spent years fighting for workers. He's a teacher who trained the next generation. He's a husband to Natasha and father to Niskal. And now he's the Minister of Energy and Energy Industries, responsible for an industry that generates billions of dollars and employs tens of thousands of people. Roodal's story teaches us something powerful about success and preparation. He didn't rush. He didn't take shortcuts. He spent years getting educated, not just with one degree, but with 4, each one building on the last. Each one giving him new tools and new perspectives. He spent years working in trade unions and labor relations, understanding the needs of ordinary workers and learning how to negotiate and compromise. He spent years teaching, sharing his knowledge and refining his ability to explain complex ideas. He spent years in opposition, learning how government works and building his political skills. And now, all of that preparation, all of those experiences, all of that knowledge has come together in one role where he can make a real difference for his country. The academic who started in trade unions now controls his country's entire energy future, and every decision he makes will shape Trinidad and Tobago for decades to come. His journey from labor activist to energy minister shows that there's no substitute for hard work, education, and genuine commitment to public service. Hit subscribe now to discover more leaders whose unconventional paths led to extraordinary power.